welcome back to my channel. My name is Mallory Mayer, an American military wife living in Germany. If you like these videos and you're not subscribed yet, please hit the red subscribe button below so that you don't miss any more of these videos. I have a lot on my sleeve and I don't want you to miss any of them. So today's topic is going to be about culture shock in Germany, and in particular, unexpected culture shock. I did not think that I would experience culture shock when moving here. Maybe that's a little bit arrogant, but that is just the thoughts I had. I think what was most shocking about culture shock is that I didn't expect it. I do have a lot of background in German related things. I have German heritage and I've been interested in that for a long time. I took 4 years of German classes in high school and college. I spent 5 weeks in Austria for a summer, 5 weeks in a summer when I was 20. And now, yes, I know that Austria is not Germany, but I was in a German-speaking country for a summer and I felt really confident. It was my first time overseas and I flew there by myself. And I loved it. And so I thought, well, I had a great time there and I had an easy time integrating. So it's going to be the same when I move to Germany with the military. And finally, I even have a background in Bavarian folk dancing and culture. And I was like, I know the culture. Like, I know what Germany is all about. I know the basic language. I'm going to be good. No, it was not like that. Now, I'm not trying to be negative. I don't want this to come across as negative aspects of German culture, but it's just my experience coming in as an American and not realizing that I would have some culture shock. So let's talk about the different aspects of culture shock. Now, this is not anything that I pulled from a study or anything, but this is just my experience, like how I experienced culture shock and what I think contributed to those feelings. The first thing would definitely be language. The number one thing that is involved with culture shock is language and barrier to communication. This was even with knowing basic German. You know, I knew basic things to get around, the basics of how the grammar works. I know how to pronounce things for the most part, and so I thought, I'm gonna be great. If you're conducting any type of business on the economy, it's going to take twice as long, especially at first. You know, if you're in the grocery store reading labels, and if you're like me and you have to avoid certain substances, that even puts more pressure on, and so you're just like almost obsessing over it, making sure you're reading things correctly and translating them. Maybe going to a restaurant or reading signs is more difficult, and just communicating with people around you. That, I think, is kind of the hardest part, is not being able to communicate with the people around you. You know, you're maybe looking at a product in the store and you're like, well, I would really like to know what this person next to me thinks of this because they're looking at a similar thing, but you can't really do that because even if you know how to ask the question, you might not understand the answer. The second thing is driving and laws. Now, they do drive on the same side of the road here in Germany as in the US, so that's not different, but there are different rules and laws. So for example, it's illegal to do a right turn on red in Germany. You also are not allowed to idle your car for more than a few minutes. I think it's like 2 or 3 minutes. So like if you're waiting at a train track, or if you're sitting in a parking lot, like waiting for somebody, if it's more than a couple minutes, then you need to cut off your engine. So, and in the summer, that can be really hot, or in the winter, it can be really cold. And then of course we have the Autobahn, which totally freaked me out at first. I was like, I don't want to do this, and now I'm fine. It's just like a speedier highway basically, but at first I was a little bit scared. Okay, another aspect that contributes to culture shock is not knowing where things are. Moving to any new installation or area you're going to have that anyway. But when you move to an overseas installation, you're not only getting used to a new place, a new base, but you're also getting used to an entirely new country. So it's like a double whammy with feeling lost and like you don't know how to get places. So that can be really confusing and exhausting. A fourth thing would be not being familiar with nuances. And this would just be little things in the culture that you just aren't used to. I mean, there's things in America that we're used to, but maybe people coming into the US for the first time would find that weird or quirky or something. All right, so at the grocery store, they do not provide you with free bags. And they're very averse to plastic in general. So you either have to bring your own bag, or if you forget your bags, then you can buy bags when you're in line. They also check you out really fast. This is still something that I'm not quite used to yet, especially at Aldi. I don't know if it's like that at every Aldi, but at our Aldi, there's no place to like put the groceries after they check them. So you're just trying to like scoop everything up and throw it into your cart so you can bag it later. And that's another thing, you have to bag your own groceries, but they're just like doing everything so fast, and before you know it, you're done and you're paying. And I even had an instance where I was paying with my debit card, flashing lights, I'm an American, right? Because everyone uses cash here, and I'm paying and they give me the receipt, like my receipt, before they give me the one to sign, because you also have to physically sign a receipt. And so the lady's giving me my receipt, my order is completed, and I'm signing my receipt for the store, and she's checking out the next person, and that person completes their purchase with cash and walks away before I'm even done signing. So that is how fast they check you out. Also, no chit-chatting. I mean, there's no time for it, right? So especially if you're from the South or from Texas, like I am, you're used to the cashier being like, hey, how are you doing? How's your day going? And it's not a matter of being friendly or not being friendly. That's just how it is, and you have to get used to it. Also, stores close earlier than in the US, and they're also closed on Sunday, so no grocery shopping on Sundays for the week. You have to do it on Saturday or wait till Monday. There's also the recycling system, which is not hard once you get the hang of it, but you have to get the hang of it first, and it's very, very important. If you don't recycle properly, then the army gets fined by the German government. And then finally, a little nuance would be trying to figure out how to communicate back home. You're going to have a 6 to 9 hour time difference with the US. And so if you have people that you talk to quite frequently, I would always talk to my mom several times a week, and that you have to figure that out. So I feel, really good if we have a good conversation at least, once a week. And sometimes we go more than a week. All right, the holidays, that can be a culture shock. It could be a culture shock and a good thing. They do Christmas really big here. And I did arrive right before Christmas in 2017 on purpose because I wanted to experience the Christmas markets right away. And so that was lovely. I loved it. But it was also me and Mark's first time not celebrating Christmas with family. Now, Mark has been away for Christmas a few times on deployment, but this is the first time that us as a married couple have celebrated Christmas just ourselves and our dog Zoe. Starting a business or bringing your home-based business here can be a bit difficult. I know this won't apply to everybody, but I thought I'd mention it. You have to get registered with the German government, get a German tax ID, and then get approved by the garrison in order to operate legally here. So that was a whole process. It was very exhausting and confusing sometimes. It was worth it in my opinion, but it can be a challenge. And then finally, this is not exactly part of culture shock, but it contributes to culture shock feelings, is being jet lagged and not having your household goods. So being jet lagged just makes everything seem harder. You're fatigued, you're brain foggy. It's rough, I'm telling you. I did not expect to feel like I had been run over by a bus for about 2 to 3 weeks after arriving. So don't be surprised and give yourself a lot of grace and rest. The other thing is when you don't have your stuff, it just doesn't feel like home. You know, we made the best of it for a few months with the furniture from the army, but there's just nothing like having all your stuff just the way you want it to be. So I want to end with some upsides I've experienced since being in Germany, and I will do a video more on this, but I don't want it to, again, I don't want it to seem like I'm being a downer. I'm just saying, explaining some things that you may experience when coming to Germany. So hopefully that'll help with your culture shock, knowing these things ahead of time. I think it definitely would have helped me if I had been more aware of these things and not been so arrogant that thinking that I wouldn't have culture shock. So hopefully that helps you. But some upsides I experienced. Number one, and probably my favorite, is that the food quality here is so great, and the food is very reasonably priced. The first time that I had chicken from the economy, I bought it at Aldi. It was very cheap. It was a chicken breast. It wasn't even organic. And I remember sitting down and eating it and saying, this chicken actually tastes like chicken. Like, no joke. It tasted so flavorful. And, you know, chicken can be kind of bland. And yeah, it was amazing. So I love Aldi chicken. And there's, you know, their produce is really vibrant. Even the produce, again, at Aldi is very cheap, but really great quality. And you can go to local farms to shop. There's other grocery stores. So the food is very reasonable and tastes amazing. Of course, getting to travel to new countries quite easily is a huge plus. We can drive a couple hours approximately and get to either France or go in a slightly different direction and get to Luxembourg. So it's amazing. Or you can hop on a flight and in like an hour or two, you're in a totally new country. And finally, as a military spouse and family, having access to base really, really helps. You know, I never really shopped at the commissary or the PX that often, but now I go every week. I do the majority of my grocery shopping off post on the economy because, like I said, the prices are great. But there are certain things that I go to the commissary for that I either can't find on the economy or they're better priced at the commissary, or it's just more convenient at that moment to go to the commissary, and then same thing with the PX. So that's a really big comfort. You feel like you're at home, you're around other Americans, and it really helps. It's kind of like an escape when you're feeling overwhelmed by a new culture. I feel really blessed that we have that opportunity as military. Expats who are not military affiliated don't get that luxury. So I'm very, very thankful that we do have that outlet. Okay, well, if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, I'd really appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up right down below. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything else. And then for comments, I would really like to hear from you guys if you have ever experienced culture shock or maybe some things that you're worried about. If you're a German watching this, I would be really curious to hear from you on if you have gone to America and experienced culture shock going to America, either visiting or living there. I'm really curious to know what about our culture in our country could cause culture shock for people coming there. So I love the dialogue. I love getting comments from you guys, and I read every single one. And I really do try to respond to every single one. In the meantime, yeah, leave your comments, and I will see you in the next video.